Hello, welcome to the Berkeley Chess School's TV channel. This is our interview series, and we are graced by the presence again of International Master Timothy Taylor. My name is Stephen Shaughnessy. I'm one of the instructors for the Berkeley Chess School. And Tim, I really enjoyed our last video about your exploits at the World Senior Chess Championship, and afterwards we got to talking about when and how you learn chess. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
Well, I was the youngest of 6 children, and at age 4, I was able to defeat all my older brothers and sisters. And then my father played me, and I beat him, and he was not happy. So then I just continued to play a little bit on my own. Didn't really have any competition, but I retained an interest in it. And so my parents got me this wonderful book when I was 8 years old. Perfect book for an 8-year-old, and I'm not being sarcastic. Chess from Morphy to Botvinnik, A Century of Chess Evolution. And why it was so great was it didn't talk down to me. It told me chess as it was. Of course, I didn't understand 90% of it, but I understood 10%, and gradually that became more. At first, I could not understand why people resigned. Why would they resign? They're just a piece down. I would play on. But eventually, I figured that out, and I liked the games that ended in mate. The Morphy game that we're going to look at doesn't quite end in mate, but he does give a note to show what the mate was, so I could figure that out. But I learned from the great players, like Morphy himself, from Botvinnik, and everybody in between, Capablanca, Lasker, Marshall, all those great players. So I learned a great deal, and I had a sound foundation on how the chess should really be played instead of the dumbed down stuff they have.
Wonderful.
Now. So that was it.
Great. And that was in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Great. Yeah. And you told me a quick story about your Beth Harmon experience.
Yes, before there was Beth Harmon, but I played the school janitor, very similar to that, a foreign gentleman with the traditional Eastern European accent. He was the janitor at the school, and he would play all comers during recess. So I think I was in 3rd grade the first year I played him, and I played every day and won 3 games in the whole school year.
Oh, wow.
But then somewhere in there I got this book. I got better. Then in the next grade I beat him every game. So he stopped playing me because kids, as you know, they jump.
Yes.
They get much stronger. So I couldn't play him anymore. But thank you, Mr. Handy, wherever you may be. Yeah. And so this book and Mr. Handy helped me out. Got me started.
Wonderful. So I understand you have 2 games for us, one by Morphy, one by Botvinnik.
Right. In honor of the book, Chess from Morphy to Botvinnik, we have Morphy and we have Botvinnik. Botvinnik was the reigning world champion when this book came out in 1952. Wow. And Morphy needs no introduction to chess players. We're going to look at this game of Morphy's, which was a King's Gambit. He was on the black side. He liked the white side as well, and I like the white side, not the black side. Yeah. And I wrote this book about the King's Gambit, the Fischer King's Gambit, so we'll put that up there. And this takes a point of view of Bobby Fischer, who played the King's Gambit, I think, 23 times and had a massive score with white, and of course most famously beating Grandmaster Larry Evans in the 62-63 U.S. Championship, where Fischer went 11-0.
Wow. Yes.
So if you want a perfect score, just play the King's Gambit. The rest will take care of itself. Anyway, so we're going to look at Morphy on the black side, what to do if he faces the King's Gambit. So we get this thing here. Actually, we're going to look at a little side note here. What if you play Alyakin's defense? We talked about that last week. So then, let's say white plays this. Now, the best move for black is e5. Don't ever play d5. You'll be very sad. Anyway, so I play this move. Recommend this. And then if you play here, this is going to transpose to the Morphy game. Now, this is the exact position of the Morphy game. So it's an interesting transposition from Alyakin's defense.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go back and see the King's Gambit. And objectively, as years of research has taught me, objectively, the best move is to take the Gambit pawn. But Morphy, didn't much like to defend, so he offers this counter gambit, the Falkbeer counter gambit, and takes any place here. Now, for about 120 years or so, this counter gambit was considered playable. And then Bronstein went and refuted it. So, hate it when that happens, but yeah. So he refuted it, and it's completely dead. It has no life in it anymore. And you can only get a terrible position with black if you play this, if white knows the refutation, of course. But there's still people on YouTube, some snake oil chess salesmen, trying to say, oh, you should play this. No, it doesn't work. But only if white knows. So what you need to do with white, if you want to refute it, you have to play d3. The reason the Falkbeer gives counterplay is the pawn on e4 stops the white knight's natural development. But after this move, you cannot maintain a pawn on e4. You could just imagine if you played f5, then chop, queen h5 check resigns.
Yes.
So you don't want to do that. So you can't maintain it. And bishop b4 check would be extremely silly because you just play c3 and you lose. So we'll just take a quick look at the Bronstein refutation. Here it is, just in case you run into this. Chop, there. That's the second game. I faced the Falkbeer in a tournament game, but somebody played that move. We can look at that in a minute. Anyway, this is the main line of the Falkbeer. And Bronstein just pinned the knight. Okay, go here. And you got to attack it again. Now, castling and try to pin by win doesn't work because white has knight e5. So you have to go here and then this. And this is the main line. Chop, 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 chop. And you get this position. Now, for a long time, this was considered best play for both sides. But the problem is, it's just better for white. White is a pawn up, and that's actually the most important factor of the position. And if black gets his pawn back, well, if he doesn't do it, he's not going to, because white has, for example, knight d4 attacking the bishop, saving the pawn, or castle's queenside would do the same thing. So if he's going to take it, he's got to take it now.
Yeah.
But white gets this tempo. And look at the black king. This is a attacking position without queens and threatening knight takes f7 check. So the king wanders up here. And what's funny is that the bishop is under attack. It doesn't really have a good square. He tries to defend the pawn on f7. But now the rook is checking and the king's just getting over there. And Bronstein brings every piece in. And there's another one, and it just starts getting ridiculous. He keeps taking different things, takes more things, and now the bishop can't even take the pawn on a2 because rook takes a7 check, wins the bishop. And if it goes anywhere else, you're going to take on a7, then you're going to come back here and take this one. So it is horrible. And just a quick look at someone actually played the Falkbeer against me in a tournament game and tried to improve with this move. It doesn't work. He had this thing all prepared, He's going to give up the piece, whatever. And so he gets a piece back. But what people don't understand, we're going to talk about Morphy's advances in chess, is this loss of time allows white to start an attack. And I've been studying Morphy games since I was 8 years old, so this is not difficult for me. So there, and suddenly we're attacking. All the pieces are coming out, and you got to do something about that mating attack. Oh, we just got a pawn. And I always look for this f5 attack in the King's Gambit. Now I'm sacrificing something, but it's not really much of a sacrifice. Say, now compare, well, there's a rook. Okay. Now compare rook against two minor pieces. Normally, two minor pieces would be better, but in this case, the knight can't move at all because you lose the bishop. The bishop can't move because if it went to c6, threatening mate, we'd play queen g6, and our mate is better than your mate, so he would have to give up his queen and bishop, and the game just continues like this. He tries to stay in the position, but we'll get a little fun thing at the end. Trying to remove the blockader. Now he's forking my pieces, so can you see the winning continuation here?
Okay.
It's an Excelsior combination. You got to queen that pawn somehow.
Okay, wow. Is it rook takes rook, queen takes rook, rook d8?
Yeah, leave everything hanging. It doesn't matter. So take there. There you go. It doesn't matter that your queen is hanging because rook takes queen check and rook h8, and you get another queen. And it doesn't matter that your rook is hanging. You take that f8 queen, and you must take.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Falkbeer, death to the Falkbeer.
Oh.
Anyway, it doesn't work. But in Morphy's day, they didn't know this, so he could play it. And Morphy plays this, and white immediately makes a mistake. He plays knight c3. And this move lets the black bishop come into the game. He's got a target. So Morphy's famous rapid development works here. And there's the bishop. So if pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, black has counterplay. So white breaks the pin. And then this is, we're going to quote from the book here. Mary Koenig, who wrote this Chess from Morphy to Botvinnik. Theory still considers this move to be best, emphasizing Morphy's insight into the position. And of course, Carlsen wasn't born in 1952, but he also played this move. And the move is to play e3. And you give up another pawn, but for very rapid development, getting your pieces into the game very, very fast and on the best square. And then Koenig also comments, many people would be tempted to get the pawn back with knight takes pawn.
Yes.
Yeah. We don't care about insignificant units, as Tal would say. The important thing is to get the rook to the e file where it will pin the bishop. And then you'd have all kinds of pins. So he gets out of that. We have a note here. Yes, we have a note. Okay, what about, well, let's look at this one real fast. Somebody, and the guy, his king starts wandering all over the place. And there's pins. And see, the rook is just immune. It's just floating in midair because the knight f5 check. Morphy-esque is my comment. Tries to do that. We don't care. We still don't care. So, and there goes the queen.
Check. Yeah.
So that's that. And then we see this kid, Magnus somebody, that guy. And he also has black hair. And he says, well, it's the same sort of thing. Oh, my knight's coming in. And there's that open e-file. Once again, all the stuff. Magnus read his Morphy in those days. Again, we don't care. Just leave the knight there. It doesn't matter. And then, bang, you're dead. So the rook sacrificed itself to intensify the pin. And we got to do something here. And the pin gets worse and worse.
Oh, beautiful.
And there he goes. And he comes out of a piece ahead. He just, well, actually played on. What did he do that for? Okay, and then the bishop retreated. And black is a piece up for absolutely nothing. So anyway, everyone who's learned from Morphy, they've sort of assimilated the style, the E3. Don't be afraid to sacrifice pawns. Get your pieces on the right squares. So anyway, So back to the game. And there's the rook getting to the e-file. And I quote myself, it's not just that Morphy develops rapidly, he developed to the right squares. So now white is just stuck. Now what white should do, to prolong the game at least, he should play king f1. It's horrible, but he won't lose as quickly. But what he does is he tries to hang on to his material. And a lot of people did that in the 1850s. And again, he should just still play king f1, but he wants to keep the pawn advantage, or 2 pawns, I guess, which is completely irrelevant to the position. Now, he finally plays this move, but it's too late. And Carlsen, as we saw, makes this exact same combination. He's going to take the bishop, but not with his bishop. Intensify the pin.
Yep.
The knight comes in. And Stephen, I hear you've been teaching all your kiddos this thing.
Yes, I've been teaching this game for years. I love it.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do. Notice the white rooks are completely helpless. He was about to lose his queen, so he does that. Mm-hmm. And then it's a nightmare, all puns intended. Anyway, and at this point, Black's position is so good that he doesn't need the knight. I guess that's the queen knight. He doesn't need the queen knight. He doesn't need the queen rook, which never moves in the game. All he needs are 3 pieces: the queen, the bishop, and the knight. And he finds this very unusual mate. So there. And now, it's kind of hard to see the mate at this point.
Yeah.
Because very unusual. And I have to ask you, have you seen this kind of mate?
No.
In any other game?
No.
I have not.
And I don't know of a name for it either. I don't know if it's named.
Because it's so rare. But he comes back, and now, as my book helpfully points out, it's mate in 2. Well, first of all, you're threatening mate in 1, queen to g4. So you had to do something about that. And then you get this check, and the king comes up, and the queen mates in the strange mate. It defends the knight through.
Yeah.
And that's how Morphy wiped him out those days. As you said, he scored 28-1 against Schulten. Yeah. But he was playing according to principles, not just rapid development, putting your pieces on the best squares, not losing time, clinging to pawns, didn't do any of that stuff. So a very modern game, and as we can see, Carlsen still followed him.
Yeah.
Over 100 years later.
Wonderful. Can I show you one little line that I like to show the kiddos?
Yeah, you can mouse.
Let's bring this
away.
over. There is a cool little line here. Let's see, king, knight g4 check. Okay, I talked to the kids about what happens if they move their king to the side. They can also, I mean, not to the side, excuse me. I mean diagonally onto the open file. Don't smile. He won't be smiling on the open file. He chose to go back, but if he comes out, there's a nice line. It's pretty spectacular. International Master Timothy Taylor, what would you play here for black?
Knight f5 check.
Knight f5 check. Okay, forces the king to h3, and then
queen h4 mate.
Queen h4, or
there's another. Oh, there's an or. Knight f2 mate.
It's a nightmare.
It is a nightmare.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So that's a separate line I like to throw in there.